Hi there, adventurers! It's your Video Master Recon. If you wish to listen to our games and our talks live, you can join us at www.twitch.tv/theguilddndclub. Our VODs are available on YouTube 2 days later and on Spotify the following week. And you can see some of our most memorable moments at Instagram and TikTok as well. And now, what you all have been waiting for, let's sit down and enjoy a guild talk. Hi, greetings everyone, and welcome to the new Gamemaster Month, a month-wide event in the month of January, created by MonteCook Games to celebrate new Game Masters. During this month of January, we will do some weekly events here at the Guild's channel with some very special guests starting today. We will sit down and talk about mental health in TTRPG spaces. Over the years, mental health has become an important discussion topic, and finding ways to deal with it can be sometimes as simple as a TTRPG game. For this talk, we want to sit down and discuss the benefits of TTRPGs for mental health, how people of all ages can come together, roll dice, and let stories improve their lives. I, your Video Master Icon, will be your host for tonight, and I will be joined by Annie. You know her as Dice in our Project Ages one-shot series. She has been playing TTRPGs for over 5 years. Her current favorites are Vampire the Masquerade and Daggerheart. Not only has a degree in creative expressive therapies, but also wrote a dissertation on how social anxiety can be tackled in TTRPGs. In late 2025, she had the opportunity to host a talk about TTRPGs and mental health at Lisboa, a TTRPGs event here in Portugal. Our second guest is Barda Cat. You may remember her as one of the game masters for Solidariedades, the charity stream that we held back in October 2025. She is a game master originally from the north of Portugal, who studied psychology and mastered in work psychology in the University of Coimbra. She is one of the founders of Bardos do Mondego, a group of game masters and TTRPG enthusiasts from the center of Portugal, founded in April of 2024, with the goal of helping popularize TTRPGs in Portugal by running free sessions for beginners during conventions. Since then, they have released 2 actual plays on their YouTube channels, the latest of which, Os Deuses Também Morrem, and have been part of many conventions and live plays, and intend to continue to do so. Some call Cat the conscience of Bardos do Mondego, others prefer the term scary dog, but at the end of the day, she is the ride or die you need when event organizations get tough. She has also never killed a player character because she feels bad. Our third guest is Marta. She is a member of the group Roll Iniciativa, and she is part of the organization of Lisboa. She is someone that likes to show others how fun and amazing TTRPGs really are, and we thank her for that. Our final guest for tonight is Mick. He has been playing TTRPGs since 2017, and he spent most of his time in the Game Master chair. In September of 2022, he started his journey as the Dungeon Master of the group Fellowship of the Dice for their very first campaign, to which he is a founding member. In late 2025, he had the opportunity to join me in Annie's talk about mental health in TTRPGs at Lisboa. And with our guests formally introduced, how about we go to our talk? Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Thank you all, firstly, for accepting our invite and for joining us for tonight. Are you guys ready?
Yeah. Absolutely, yes.
Let's go.
Never. No, never ready. Never ready at all.
Mhm.
Who is ready? No one. We are TTRPG players.
Improvisation is part of our lives.
Exactly. See, my point. So, again, and firstly, thank you all so much for accepting our invitation. It means a lot to us that you guys are here. And To start with this talk, I first want to ask every single one of you, how did you come across TTRPGs, and most importantly, what made you stay? Who would like to go first? Roll initiative. Roll initiative. Let's see who go first.
Since my name starts with A, I'll go first.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm one of the COVID babies for TTRPGs. And so actually during my talk, so last year in Lisboa, when I was hosting the panel with the same kind of topic, it asked people, so who started playing TTRPGs with COVID? And there was only there was a room full of people and only 2 or 3 people raised their hands. I was like, all right, fair enough.
I thought we were more.
I genuinely thought there was more people. So yes, I am a COVID baby for TTRPGs. I got involved with D&D. There was once a time a friend of mine made a tweet on Twitter, now X, and she said, God, I wish I had a group of friends and we could all punch God in the face. And both me and who would be my game master, we sent a message on Discord to them and we said, there's something called D&D. And that's how we started our first campaign together. And we never punched God in the face, but it was actually one of definitely I have so many good memories from this first campaign ever. And since then I've been joining other campaigns with other people. I've been every once in a while starting new systems, playing new systems and all of that between all of this. So I started with D&D. I think a lot of people started with D&D between watching Critical Role, between watching Dimension 20, also LA by Night, which was something that came later on when I got involved with Vampire the Masquerade. And here we are and we're still into it. And I got so involved into this world that it's actually the main thing I love to study about. And I made a whole paper on the end of my degree.
That you guys can check out.
And I
think you should. Who's next on initiative? Who wants to get in?
If we're going by alphabetical order, I think I'm up, right? So I am not a COVID baby. I am sadly and embarrassingly a post-COVID baby, which, I could have gotten in on the ground floor, I think, and I missed that opportunity. But yeah, I started because a very annoying friend of mine pulled me into a campaign. I barely knew what I was doing. I played a redhead, as you do, and then I dyed my hair red. So here we are. So yeah, I started TTRPGs in 2021. I started with D&D, which most people do, I think. Most recently, I've been realizing that maybe D&D isn't my favorite, which is always an interesting discovery you eventually make or not. But yeah, I keep playing, not necessarily for because I like many types of TTRPGs, but I think what brings me back every time is just the fun you have around the table. We can delve more into it, but I think it's safe to assume a lot of people had a tough time in high school. I was one of those people, and I think TTRPGs kind of heals things for us, helps you maybe make new friends or just have cathartic experiences where you can be nerdy without being cringe. So I think that's what brings me back, and it's a good outlet for creativity, I think. So yeah.
Completely agree. Well, since we are going in alphabetical order, I believe it's now Marta.
Yeah. So I started officially. I started in 2018 with a campaign that lasted almost 5 years. Then I started streaming. Then I found, or more likely, I was found by Roll Initiative that invited us to start streaming on their page, and that was the end of it. I think in 2 months, I must have played around 10 different systems with them. and from there I started GMing, then stopped. The first time GMing was horrible. I was like, nope, GMing is not for me. Only started GMing with COVID. That we found. I started GMing with one of Critical Role's campaigns, and then I was like, okay, maybe I like GMing as well.
Maybe it isn't that scary.
First experience was god awful. The later ones were then when I picked up the Adventures in Wildmount, I was like, okay, maybe let me just stay in this world, and maybe we're good. And now I just play and GM occasionally. I don't GM as much now. And yeah, that's me.
And Nick, I guess it's you now.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what happened was like early 2017 on a lazy Saturday. I got nothing better to do. I go on YouTube and I see a video that's titled like it's got like a title about like an episode 1 and it's for something. I don't even look at the timestamp. I don't even really know what I'm pressing on. I just know that it's got people that I know from like video games and stuff. And I start watching it and then I realize it's like 4 hours long. And then I realize that I don't really care and I just keep watching. And then cut to a few months later, after watching probably more episodes of Critical Role than one should in such a short span of time, I got the books for D&D. I got like the 3-4 books, read through absolutely none of them, and started playing. I think Kat mentioned the annoying friend that dragged her to play. I was the annoying friend dragging my friends to play. I was like, hey, we should try this.
Wait, that one.
I said we should try this. It seems fun. We tried it. Obviously, the first session was a mess, as all first sessions are. Got better over time. Kept doing it because it was honestly super fun. And I've been playing since like the summer of 2017. I've been holding on to that first campaign is still going like since then, and it's not done yet. It's going to be done someday. I don't know when, but it's going to be done eventually. And then around 2021, late 2021, I started talking with some other people. Maybe decided that, hey, this whole playing TTRPGs thing is fun. We should probably like we have this desire to like just spread the word, I guess. And honestly, word of mouth takes a lot of effort. So we're like, put it on the internet. People will watch it probably, maybe. So we just threw it up on the internet. Yeah. And by 2022, we had the group that is now known as Fellowship of the Dice. And we started putting episodes up online and still going. And so that one's still going. We still have to finish the first campaign. We'll get there. But and I've been playing ever since because honestly, I mean, you start doing it and you kind of, as long as you've got a somewhat consistent schedule to keep to it, you kind of just keep doing it because it's just so goddamn fun. And it just becomes this part of your life that's like, oh, yeah, it's like the one thing I'm looking forward to in my week is getting to that day where I get to play TTRPGs with my friends for a few hours and just enjoy being a bunch of doofuses in the fantasy world. And that's kind of what I've been doing ever since then.
Now you mentioned it, I'm like, imagine you play on a Monday and for some reason you were actually excited for Monday to come.
Yeah, I know, right?
Monday
It's insane. Yeah, no.
Well, all of us have our reasons to stay, and this is the game and the hobby that we all love. And just like as a topic of this talk, it's a game that helps with our mental health. And this is going to be my first question to all of you, which is, Have any of you ever used TTRPGs as a tool to manage your own mental state? The nervous laugh.
Not I think I kind of think it's a given a little
It's a
bit.
given.
It is.
Yeah,
I think
I wouldn't
it
say
is
it's like
kind
a
of-
conscious decision, right?
Do it.
Yeah, it kind of just happens.
Yeah, it's kind of a form of escapism, but also it just can help you improve your mood. The other day I was having like this really bad migraine, I think induced by stress. And I went to play with Dados à Portuguesa, and by the end of it, my migraine was gone. So I think that should tell you a little bit of what TTRPGs can do for you, just help you relax. So was that the reason I went to play? No, but it helped me anyway. So I think, yeah.
You guys have more examples of situations where like you had a really
No, yeah, I mean it's
you had a
it's
really
exactly
bad
that.
day at
Like,
work.
yeah, no,
Everything went wrong.
yeah, if TTRPGs had like a pharmaceutical ad, it would be like side effects may include actually feeling better. And yeah, it kind of is that, because yeah, you start playing, you don't really notice it. It just kind of happens. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh yeah, I'm feeling like a little bit better on a day-to-day basis because I decided to, again, yeah, maybe punch God with the power of friendship at a certain point last week. And now I feel better. And it's like, okay, yeah. And it's not because you punched God. Obviously, it's because you spend time with your friends, but still, it's like, you know.
But well, imagine if it was a very emotional session.
That's
You'll feel
incredibly
better after.
cathartic. Those are incredibly cathartic sessions. Yeah, I highly encourage everybody to try as hard as you can during your D&D campaigns at least once.
You know, I still didn't have one very emotional like session or anything. I still didn't get to deal with that.
You'll get there.
One day.
Yeah,
I think everybody
This is now a
deserves a
threat.
session. I think everybody deserves a session where you leave saying, what the hell to your DM, right? Like, what's wrong with
absolutely.
you?
I mean, I
That's
can't.
the
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely have that happen.
Say,
yeah.
I would say definitely. I did use it as a way of coping, a method to deal with, especially loneliness. I would say during COVID. God Jesus Christ, because it sucked being home. Back then I was living with a partner of mine. And it was one of the ways that I had to cope because my partner was working from home. Meanwhile, I was pretty much like, I used to work in a coffee shop back then. So that means I wasn't working at all. So this was like, she was working Monday to Friday. And I was there like, the fuck do I do with my life? Suddenly I'm playing D&D and all I did was drawing, writing theories, writing stories. I was going completely insane for like at least 6 months, non-stop dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, now it is a healthy coping. But I would say the main thing about playing these games is how much it helps with anything relating to socializing, because we are talking to people or meeting up with people. I mean, nowadays I do play much more in real life compared to COVID, where I was playing online. Online is fun, but it does kind of suck when you have the experience of playing more often in real life.
Definitely, yeah.
Also, I have ADHD, so you know.
Well, and piggybacking on what you're saying, I actually was looking into a few studies to prepare for this, but don't ask me anything. I didn't read that like deeply into them. But there was actually a study that was talking about how TTRPGs can be used as a form of like group therapy to help people who are feeling exactly or people who are feeling a little bit not as efficient, not efficient, but that struggle with socializing maybe. And it can provide good opportunities to make good memories around socializing, which it has been an experience I've had. And I don't know if you guys have also like had that experience, but helped me a lot, build self-confidence and just feel okay being nerdy, geeky, and a little bit annoying.
Absolutely,
that
yes.
has helped a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't know anybody here if it wasn't for TTRPGs. So yeah,
True.
Yeah, wouldn't know anybody.
I'm gonna put like a little small note here from my side, since like it was said before at the start, I did have a degree relating to creative expressive therapies. This was done in the UK. So I love talking about this. So little thing about these kind of subjects and people who struggle with social anxiety and all of that. For those, well, I guess I would be the only one here who lived in the UK. In the UK, there's something called social prescribing. Now, I'm not sure exactly if this is the right word because it has been a while. But one of the ways that GPs and doctors can talk to people and say, instead of you going for medication to deal with your anxiety, instead of you going to a psychiatrist to deal with whatever you're feeling, or instead of you going to therapy per se, why don't you try a social group? And this is actually one thing that they do sometimes, tell people, hey, there is this group of people who play TTRPGs, and there's even groups like associations that do use this as a method for therapy. And they say, hey, we can help you get in touch with them, and you can start maybe joining them and start a group with them. And it's actually a viable way of helping people without having to be outright therapy or outright medication, because it is an holistic approach. And that is really, really nice. And that's the main thing that I was studying. And so finding other ways to help people that is not medication or outright doctors.
And since you already touched on that subject, you spoke mostly about social anxiety. But do you think that when it comes to using TTRPGs as a therapeutic method, how do you think it can impact other things such as like neurodivergency? Because there are many people with neurodivergency that come to TTRPGs and play TTRPGs, or other things for like trauma processing, whatever.
Mm-hmm. I think, first of all, and let's be clear, there's not a lot of studies. This is actually very, very recent. So probably one of the first books that came out relating to this was in like 82 or something. And this was a time that, for example, Dungeons and Dragons was seen as like a satanic ritual or something like that. Nowadays, of course, it is completely different. So this book that I was actually showing, which is this one, this is called Tabletop Role-Playing Therapy from Megan Connell. This book was done in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, or released in 2023, sorry. And there's more books now, thankfully, and more studies relating to this. And she actually, in this book, she has this divided with different kinds of disabilities and any kind of neurodivergency. And it shows a little bit like, okay, this person has the ADHD. What is ADHD? What can be used for someone with ADHD? How do you approach that? How do you deal with the ethics relating to that and with the group? And all of that. So actually, it is really interesting. And instead of me saying, this is what you can do if you have ADHD, autism, whatever, instead of me saying that, I would say definitely take a look at that online. And I do recommend this book. Otherwise, I am happy to talk to anyone who wants to talk about this. And I can tell you a little bit what is in the book. So just hit me up. But there are ways that for anything like that.
Can you say the name of the book again, please? Because people in chat are asking.
So the name of the book is Tabletop Role-Playing Therapy, and it's by Megan Connell. I'll write down in the chat.
Please, and thank you. And our other guests, would they like to ask or add anything else to this topic, for example? Your own experiences?
Well, I don't come informed upon literature. I have only my own experience to take from. But I'm a late late autism diagnosis, which I think is kind of apparent. But for me, TTRPGs, I started playing before I had my diagnosis even. And as I've said before, it was kind of a safe space to start being myself and everything. So I think for me, it was a bit... it was more about helping me with the unmasking process. I think to have a safe space where you can truly just do shenanigans with your friends, nobody's judging you, can help you be more upfront about these are my needs, these are my accommodations, this is what I struggle with from my experience. And then on after Bargio do Mondego and going to conventions more recently, like conventions are pretty challenging, if I'm honest. But from what I got from the community, which to me, part of TTRPGs is like a lot of it is the community. You get to know people who have struggled with the same things as you, and people who are very understanding and don't really judge you or offer you options. And I think that then is like something I can bring into my daily life to understand, like, okay, if there's people out there that will make these accommodations for me, it was a bit of a lesson on I should be asking more for these accommodations in my other spaces, because why would they only be available in these specific spaces? And I think I encounter a lot of people who are neurodivergent at my tables and in conventions, and just the internet and TikTok especially gave us that, but just the ability to see others who are struggling the same as you or have struggled, or to be able to tell them, hey, I've been there. There's a good side to it. There's you don't have to have your autism become a source of social anxiety. I think the TTRPG community very much gave that to me. So, and just playing TTRPGs in general, you get to really be weird, which I like. So yeah.
Weirdos Club.
Weirdos Club. Miguel, Marta, I don't know if you want to add
my
anything.
my only experience is mainly DMing for in events. We basically, you don't know what kind of people you're gonna get at your table, so you have to be prepared for anything. So, and you have to sometimes, obviously, if you don't have a degree like myself, I don't have a degree in psychology. I have to, as much as I can, be aware of the signs that I know, okay, I have to talk slightly different to explain better what I want to come across in the story for that person in specific to understand. Either be either be a story rules, and I have to accommodate them, because everyone is accepted at my table. So it's my job to make sure that everyone has fun there. So it's extra work for me as a DM. But if I didn't want that extra work, I wouldn't be DMing at events. So yeah, that's basically my experience. And
it's valid because, like you said, you never know what kind of person, what kind of people will sit at the table with you, especially in events, and you need to be ready for it. And it's a challenge for you when it comes to dealing with all kinds of people and dealing with different people, different problems that you need to sometimes come up on the fly. And you need to be ready for basically anything. Still on this topic, and grabbing again on the social anxiety part, and a little bit on something that we discussed at Lisboa, Mick, because I know You spoke about it, how TTRPGs and DMing helped you with your social anxiety.
Yeah. Let nobody tell you that exposure therapy does not work, because it absolutely does. Putting yourself in first of all, just putting yourself in the DM's seat means you're going to be holding someone's attention for a good amount of time, right? That's kind of your part, the part that you're playing, right? I mean, you're illustrating a world, you're painting that world with activity and creating characters and embodying a bunch of different personalities. So obviously, like that, you're kind of drawing that to you, whether you want it or not. And if you are struggling with any sort of like social anxiety or any difficulties and like sort of socializing and connecting with people and doing any of that, TTRPGs can do absolute wonders for you. I mean, granted, you should definitely have people around the table that you can maybe at first, if it feels a little daunting, you should have people that you trust, people that you know, people that are, friendly faces that can sort of give you a sense of security. But you kind of also hear people talk about it online, about like the sort of the social safety net that exists when you're playing TTRPGs. It kind of feels like a very safe space. You hear people talk about it. You don't necessarily believe it when you hear other people say it. And then you kind of do it. And it's like, oh, yeah, this is what they mean. It's like, wow, here I get to sit at a room with people that I care about or people that I can have fun with, pretending to be a million different other people, exploring every single facet of yourself that you can possibly think of, and doing so in a way that no one's gonna, give you problems about, that people aren't gonna question you about. If anything, they're gonna be supportive and excited and interested to see what you can come up with in that sense. And yeah, I mean, you put yourself in that position for long enough, eventually you're going to get so much positive feedback loop from that you do just get slightly better. Like, yeah, it's not a cure for anything. It's not going to solve your problems necessarily, but it does help considerably. It's like you're taking a placebo constantly, but it's not a placebo. Like it's helping by not being made for that specifically. It's just a thing that happens. And I think that's kind of its greatest strength. It's hidden. You're kind of like, it's a weird way to put it. Definitely doesn't sound healthy if I put it this way, but I'm going to say it anyway. TTRPGs just kind of like gaslight your brain into thinking you're doing better until you do better.
No, but that is the thing. You kind of make new like good memories in a space, and then you believe that next time it's going to be as good as last time, right?
Yeah,
so it is
exactly.
It is kind of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it absolutely feels like that, and eventually you get to a point where it's like, oh yeah, I feel like branching out a little bit more. Let's go a little to the side here and see what's happening over here. And now it's no longer just socializing around a table playing TTRPGs. It's, I'm going to go to a local convention and meet other people that are doing the same thing. And we're not going to be necessarily around a table. We might be at some point. But, we're just going to talk to other people and meet new people that are in the same space. And again, it's like this social safety that exists in that, because now it's like, yeah, I'm talking about something that I feel comfortable with. And I'm also socializing with other people. So now we're stretching that even further. And it just kind of snowballs. And it's, you definitely notice a difference. Again, it's not a cure. It's not a medicine that you're taking. It is just this extra layer of like a buffer that's just helping you stay a little bit better than you were without it. And it just helps. It gets you to a better baseline where you're just like, oh, okay, this feels better. And that's kind of, that's been definitely my experience. But yeah.
And you kind of just replace social anxiety with, oh my God, I have so many players and I don't have that many things planned. So that anxiety takes over and everything is much easier.
I live in that world. I live in that world so much. Just I live in it so much, I am no longer afraid of it.
I agree that exposure therapy works. I remember like the first conventions we did as Bardos where TTRPGs were still becoming more... it was already very active in the online sphere, but in person, like conventions in smaller towns were not a big thing. So when we started going to conventions, I remember having to go up to people and be like, hey, so do you want to come play D&D? And it was so like stressful and kind of embarrassing. But I think that just made me kind of bulletproof to embarrassment to a point, because you can only get embarrassed so many times after asking teenagers if they want to play, right? So it's not the same in gaslighting your brain into liking it, but I think exposure therapy in general and realizing that rejection isn't that big of a deal was also something TTRPGs helped me with.
And also don't forget that you're also giving maybe to a few of those people their first experience with TTRPGs.
Which is really cool.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like just adding a little bit to what Meek was talking about, because we join a table or we start a campaign, and the reality is there's so much vulnerability because a lot of us are applying now stuff relating to improvisation or making up a backstory that, let's admit, how many of us had added like stuff relating to ourselves in our characters and role-play those parts like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. I'm so dramatic. Yeah. So am I.
I was so convinced that my last character was far removed from myself, and then Jonas, our DM for Os Deuses Também Morrem, said, "No, I think this is the most like you character that you've ever made." And I was like, "Okay, so I didn't improve anything in that front, I guess. Great, that's wonderful."
All the time.
And have you ever been like
from? The pipeline from sad, the pipeline from like first character being sad wood elf ranger with a little bit of your own backstory. To 40th character becoming the 40th character is like a swamp witch on a tricycle that also has a lot of you in it. It's so it's connected.
And if you don't mind me adding a question, have you ever been far deep into the campaign and realized a theme that you brought on that you thought was completely original, you were actually pulling from your own insecurities, and then you get to the theme or where the DM finally explores the backstory and you're like, wait, this is actually about me and I didn't realize, because I did that. And we recorded it and it was so embarrassing.
No,
you learn.
I didn't do that.
I can't say that I've had the experience of having that happen to me. I've done it to people because, again, as a forever GM, that's kind of what happens. But yeah, absolutely. And I fully understand your DM being like, oh, no, this is absolutely you in a different sense. That happens constantly. Good Lord. You get to a point where you just have a conversation over dinner with your team, with the people that are playing with you. And it is very much just like running down where they start talking about, oh, yeah, I think this thing is that. And I'm like, no, so this thing is like the fact that your character currently has a lot of trust issues around a father figure. And I'm like, I've known you for long enough. I can tell you that's your daddy issues coming out, and it's fine. That's okay. That's totally okay. Live in that. It's okay. Just work through it. It's cool. And also, thank you for the ammunition to use later. But yeah.
See, that was going to be my dark humor joke. I remember my DM on my first campaign with my first character touching some stuff in the backstory, which is relating to mommy issues. And I was looking at my screen like, oh, fuck off.
It's you, hi. You're the problem. It's you. Yeah.
I just keep making autism allegories without realizing, and that it's really pissing me off, guys. Like, I need to get a grip.
Listen, if the best to do it right now are doing that in their own stuff, like, don't give me any crap. Brennan Lee Mulligan has capitalism as the bad guy in every campaign, regardless of what that campaign is. I'm sure we'll get to it at some point in campaign 4 of Critical Role, where capitalism is the bad guy. And if he can do it, then I think everybody's allowed.
Yeah.
Well, my only reality is that at this point, I don't make one single character that is straight. That doesn't happen.
I mean,
and why should
it? Yeah, exactly. It's like, if you want to explore that sort of stuff, the TTRPGs are definitely the best place to go. It's,
Me currently playing a pre-transition character in Curse of Strahd. Like, hello.
Yeah.
That is actually
nothing to do with the player at all. Completely.
Nothing to do with the player.
That is actually such an interesting thing to touch, though, because I know people who have basically started playing D&D and they started to realize stuff relating to their gender, their sexuality, because they put that on their characters, just like, I'm just gonna play this, like, this is visual, like, this is not my life.
Listen,
and then they're like, oh.
Yeah, I don't want to blame the bisexual tiefling thing, but it kind of is that. You play one, and next thing you know, you're wondering what's going on.
Yes.
You start looking at things differently. You remember seeing the mummy when you were a kid, and you're like, both of those characters were hot. It's like, yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't think I've ever played a straight character, but I never really thought about it before. You do what you know, and that's all you can do.
Yeah, play what you know.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I started playing Project Aegis with Eken, I was like, so I'm making this character. Also, he's gay, by the way. And that's gonna be it.
Me, as soon as you say that, here, have a himbo.
Yay, boyfriend!
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, you just kind of add the addendum now where it's like, is this person gay? Yes, no, probably. Yes. You just add the addendum
out together.
Just in case.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people do that, right? Like, it's maybe the place you feel safe to do so. I've had players at my table who, like, I'm playing with complete strangers, so it's not like I pointed out or anything, but you can kind of tell when a person is trying to find a safe space where they can play with gender identity and everything. And I think TTRPGs are a great way to do that, because there's a lot of deniability for any who don't feel safe yet or are just experimenting and don't feel the need to assign any labels to it. But like I as I said, begrudgingly, I am like a post-COVID 2021 TTRPG enjoyer. But I feel like the community, from my standpoint, has been more and more accepting of that. And I don't really recognize the community without the LGBT community as well. So I think it's really good that we've built this safe space for those people. And that even if they don't know me personally as a GM, I always like to be able to be a safe space for a person who's probably just experimenting with whatever it may be. And I don't really ask questions at all because it's none of my business. And to have that is also really cool, I think.
They're very intertwined, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you kind of don't have one without the other. You create a haven for a certain type of person, which at first is just nerds looking for an outlet. And like, yeah, you've actually, whether you meant for it to happen or not, you already have that safe location, that haven created anyways. So of course people are going to be way more comfortable at a certain point to just be like, I mean, yeah, can we also be here? Is this cool? And like, yeah.
I think it is great because there's some communities that are safe havens for nerds, but not necessarily for other communities.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think it's really great. I also think that there was something there after 1998, maybe, where a lot of nerds were also being born LGBT. I don't know where I think the Venn diagram for by now is almost a circle at this point.
You hit the year 2000, and it's just. Yeah.
It was something
No. Do not come on. Yeah. Let's not rope me in with people born in the year 2000. I cannot.
No, yeah.
I am.
No, yeah. You're right. I'm sorry. There's actually no people.
90s.
Yeah. The 90s count. Hey, I'm a 90s kid too. I'm included in that list. I'm not saying it's not true.
Are you a year 2000 baby?
I am.
Yeah.
We forgive you. We forgive you.
We got a youngin' in here, but it's okay.
I'm a fetus.
Oh God, I'm feeling old, man.
Martha was like, "Oh no, I'm in the kindergarten."
We clearly need an adult. You know,
sure.
Not with me.
No, yeah, that's no.
You need an adult here, adult.
Yeah.
Well, you guys actually started to bring up a very interesting topic when sometimes those lines between your identities and your fictional identities start to blend and blur a little bit, because these games allows for that to happen. We step into these fictional identities, we explore their emotions of the characters, and we make meaningful choices through these characters. And sometimes those choices start to feel a bit too close to home for comfort. And immersion is a powerful thing, to the point where sometimes we are having a game and all of a sudden, why am I crying over a fictional character that just exists in this table with this bunch of people? And sometimes these lines between player and character just blend in completely. They blur completely. And this is actually a phenomenon that it's commonly discussed online in TTRPG communities, which is bleed. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard about it before.
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know what bleed is, it's when through feelings and experiences, the line between fiction and reality completely blurs. And I ask you, for those who experience sometimes this feeling of you become that character for a moment, do you think that can have a more positive impact on the player's mental health, or is it dangerous and it needs to have some safety before it becomes an harmful thing? Like I said, sometimes the lines are so blurred between reality and fiction.
I mean, I think if you establish, like, when it's shorter sessions or one shots, this doesn't really happen. So assuming it is a campaign, I think it's always important for the DM and the players to establish a level of trust between each other, where you can say, hey, even if you didn't recall that you would have a trigger, maybe something happens where that trigger is mentioned and you didn't really think about it. I think it's always important for you to feel that your GM is trustworthy enough where you can go up to them and say, hey, maybe next session or here on forward, or just as of right now, please don't mention this. But I think if it's a topic that you've wanted to explore from the beginning, as long as you discuss with your DM the ways you'd like for it to be discussed, it can be really cathartic. As I said, in my last character I played in Os Deuses Também Morrem, Ophelia, I didn't realize how close to home she would hit. I knew I was exploring themes of feeling like your life has been, or people have been expecting something of you, and you want to do the option that is more fun and to actually go through the catharsis of living your life. Those were the themes I wanted to explore, because I also thought that the nerd community in general might benefit from that kind of storyline. I didn't expect to cry about it, but I think in the end it was good for me to experience that, because it cemented that feeling of I need to be unapologetic about this nerdy side of me. So I think for the most part, if it's well explored, it is very positive. If for some reason that conversation wasn't had, it isn't necessarily anyone's fault. But it is important that the conversation of how can we do this safely is had as soon as possible after you realize it's maybe damaging you.
I think it also depends on the topic. 100% agree with you, Kat. Because in our campaign, Exandria Shadows, we had a similar thing. One of our players had to step out of the game. And him and the GM decided, okay, we're gonna kill off the character, but he's gonna be part of the world. He turned into magic itself. He talked to the GM when the session came. By the end of the session, when he was saying goodbye, everyone was crying. Everyone. He's still alive. The guy's still alive. The player's still alive.
But thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, the player didn't suddenly drop dead after the character went away.
I mean, maybe that's what happened. Who knows?
Next. If you die in the game, you don't die in real life necessarily.
Next session, he was commenting stuff on the our chat. So he wasn't just in the game. So yeah, the player was there. The problem was the character. We were so ingrained with the character that losing that character was a loss to everyone in the party. So in a way, we also had our mini saying goodbye moment. So yeah, I think that's okay in game. And there is where you have to know that, okay, it's in game. Like I said, the player's still alive. So you're not losing the player. You're just losing that character. But I can understand if the story, especially if the story is so affecting. When I say affecting, is like impactful to the players. The emotions are gonna blur. But that's when, after the game, you have to have a talk with everyone, like wind down, making sure everyone's okay, making sure, okay, guys, remember, this was just a game, not real life. The player's still here. So it's just the character that's not. So also, I think that's the important thing, to not have a bleed. For me, bleed is at the end of the session. For me, bleed is not, okay, the session ends here. Your feelings as the character is not the feelings as the player. That, for me, that's the bleed. If you don't stop there, okay, that's the problem. You have to talk. Because if you can't stop the bleed, you have to talk, you have to stop. Let's talk, everyone. And make sure everyone's okay. What's the problem? Talk it out. Because sometimes I think, especially in anger, when players' characters are discussing with one another, sometimes players forget it's the characters and not the player that's yelling at you. And then at the end of the session, you have to talk to them just to make sure. Okay, remember, just the players. It was just the characters. I still like you. You're still okay with me, okay? It was just my character that was pissed off at you. That's for me, it's the important thing you have to do. So you don't have bleed. And then, because bleed can fuck up a group.
Yeah.
So can I say my sad story of how my first campaign ended?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh,
It
God,
was
go for
not
it.
me. But unfortunately, my first campaign ended exactly because there was a situation of PvP inside the group. It was technically a joke that one of the players was like, okay, like, you're being fucking annoying. I'm going to hit you with my weapon as a way of like bonking their head. And the DM was like, are you sure you want to do that? I guess both the DM was also not very comfortable about it. I was like, yes, I'm 100% sure about this. This was also someone that was not very emotionally aware of stuff. And so he does that. He rolls and he hits. And the other player got really fucking upset about that. And this is how my first campaign never finished. I mean, finished, unfortunately, but that was unfortunately a situation because the one who got hit, the character who got hit, was someone who was definitely dealing with bleeding, where they were so in touch with their character and like sometimes mixing up reality and the game that they took it as, oh, this person hates me as well. It was a bit sad, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going to take away anything from that situation, is like communication is so key in every aspect of TTRPGs. It's already been mentioned. Yeah, it's a safe space, sure, but you're still being very vulnerable around a bunch of people. And that needs to be corrected. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be reassured with some level of regularity. You need to stay on top of that, and communication outside of the sessions is so important in terms of just aspect moments or stories of character bleed. I can't speak to that much on a personal level because honestly, as a game master, you don't, for the most part, you don't get to spend a lot of time with a lot of characters. You're going to inject some levels of personality into it. If they're a recurring character, maybe you get to flesh them out a little bit more, but you're not going to have the same level of connection that a player has with their player character. That is a completely different experience. Having been on both sides of the screen, it's completely different, and you can't really compare those two things. But I can speak to several moments that I've had over the years as I was running games of witnessing such things happening, of seeing moments where you do in fact catch those situations of heightened tension, heightened emotion, and where you can see that real emotion has now sort of pierced that veil of fiction and gone into the character, into the moment. It is immediately apparent to everybody around the table that is witnessing that moment when something feels real and raw. And I think it's because of that. It's because when you're manufacturing feelings, there is a very kind of theatrical sense to it, and you're kind of you're playing with it. You are trying to get into something that you're not particularly feeling in that moment. When the emotion is real, you can tell, and it's immediately noticeable. So when it does happen, like, yeah, can I say that those moments also led to some of the more remarkable and the more powerful moments that I've experienced around the table in terms of role playing. Sure. Now, I also have to reinforce that, as soon as the session was over, lengthy conversation. Let's figure out what's going on here. Let's talk about what happens and sort of like walk through it to make sure that we keep that character bleed at a level where it is not necessarily benign, but at the very least something that is positive, where it's a point of this was just a moment where the stars happen to align, where you having a certain type of day which correlate with that moment, and it's not a situation where, again, that line of fiction, which is supposed to be a protective barrier, it's supposed to be a sort of a looking glass that you have to separate you as a person from you as a character, that line is not being shattered on a constant basis. It needs to be something that is something that needs to be not managed, but just kept on top of, right? Just keep that in check. Make sure that everybody is still playing for the right reasons, I guess, or playing with the right mindset, you know? So, yeah. But yes, communication.
I think it can happen a lot in like first campaigns, as Annie was saying, like especially if everybody is a newbie, because you don't really have the maybe knowledge or bandwidth to understand that at the end of the day, this is, as Marta was saying, just a game, quote unquote, but in the sense of, I don't know, sometimes I watch horror movies and I still get, like, I watch the movie and I leave the movie and I'm still kind of weirded out, but affect my relationship with the people who watch the movie with me, or it's not going to necessarily affect how I go about my day. And I think it's a bit different, or it's very different, because it's sort of like an immersive media, but it's not a piece of media. It's something you're creating.
Yeah. It's not passive.
I think exactly. But I think in a lot of like newbie campaigns, that can happen a lot because there's not a lot of sense of what the boundaries should be, not just between players, but between the players and the story that is being told. I've also
you don't
had
know what you don't know, right?
Exactly. You learn by not finishing first campaign. I think it's what happens. But
God, I hope not. I love my first campaign. I want to hold on to that.
Well, you know what? Good for you, Meek.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, not my experience. Well, I still have a lot of love for my first campaign. It's just, it ended for similar things. One thing I did experience was, for a while, and I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, but sometimes the bleed isn't necessarily with, they are at the end of the day negative feelings, but sometimes the bleed is one of your friends thinks it's a good idea for their character to fall in love with your character, and that means something, you know?
God, once again, communication, guys.
No, yeah. I think it's good to, like,
Good Lord.
as long as they are to you about it, I think it's fine. I mean, I don't think it's fine. I don't think anything. I think you define if it's fine. But
exactly.
But yeah, I think at the end of the day, communication is really important. Just as any psychologist will say, communication is important for every facet of life. TTRPGs are not an exception.
Yeah, not at all.
So now I can say a good story. Actually, well, when I was dating, we're not dating anymore. But I did get to date my last girlfriend thanks to our characters dating. I'll give you that. It was actually pretty cool back then. But I'm gonna bring some topics from like what everyone was talking about, and I'm also gonna go and talk a little bit about. Well, it's not. It can be a bit boring for me, but it's not for me because we're talking about clinical utilizing TTRPGs for actually mental health health and all of that, because one of the ways that DMs, like professional DMs, can use TTRPGs or running sessions for people who do struggle quite a lot with, again, situations relating to any kind of mental health, is having someone who is a therapist or a psychologist as a player in the table. So there is this association called Game Therapy UK, and they do that quite a lot. So they have a professional DM paid for, and they have a psychologist as a player. What they usually do, and this is really important. So first of all, talking about boundaries. So this is what is going to be touched in the game, in the story. Actually, one of the groups they have in this association is veterans from war. So sometimes they do touch a little bit about battles and things relating to wars, because especially with D&D, there's wars going on. So they do touch a little bit about that. And that's how they work around the group to make them deal with the trauma relating to what they went through. There was another topic. Now I'm kind of forgetting what it was. It was something that Mick was talking about. I think it was about being vulnerable at the table. Because one of the things that is really, it is the reality. If we are playing these games, we do bring some vulnerability, because it's not just about, I'm playing this character and they have like little bit or this little small thing from my life. It's also us creating relationships with the people with us. So to some degree, exactly the same thing: communication, boundaries, how far off can I go with certain types of role playing and all that. And this brings me to the third topic I actually want to talk about. So last I started playing a campaign that meanwhile stopped playing. It was only like a few sessions, but I was going to start playing Chicago by Night, Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle, and the DMs. So it was two GMs for this. They, instead of starting the game right away, they made a Google Doc where they wrote down pretty much like anything that could be a trigger to the characters and say, hey, this is like, there's a system of like green, yellow, and red. Like, if this topic is touched, how comfortable are you about it or not? And so, like, the players filled up that form so that the GM could know exactly what they could talk or not about when certain players were on the table.
I had a document similar to that presented to me in a game. I don't remember which game it was, but I remember also having a huge list of triggers, of possible triggers, and we had to color code our acceptability of those triggers.
Yes, and I remember now something else that I wanted to talk about. I forgot. Never mind. It will come back.
That was the most
ADHD will get you like that.
That was that.
Watch, it's gonna come back to you in like 20 minutes when we're in a completely different topic. It's gonna hit you back.
We will let her talk about it.
Exactly. No, what can happen is like the talk is over. It's midnight, and Annie is like,
yeah, and
hey, I remember the topic.
That thing,
again.
I mean, we'll leave it,
so they can speak.
leave it as a comment on the video later.
Yeah.
I remember. Wait. We'll talk about. Go. Okay. That was about the vulnerability thing. So just because we are playing games, we are not actors. We are also applying things about ourselves in the game. So we don't need to make this a job. Like, don't stop yourself of feeling emotions with the game. Don't feel like you can have an argument in the game. Don't feel like you can't cry, you can't laugh like really loudly or something like that. This is a game that you are supposed to also have like these emotions and feel it. So it's not a job. If it applies as well to stuff in your real life, it's actually doing a pretty good job. It's a good thing for you as well. You don't need to 100% separate stuff.
I was going to say something similar, but on the contrary. It's like, if you if you don't find a scene worthy, you see all the other players crying, and you think like, I don't want to. You're not obligated to.
Yeah.
If you don't feel safe enough with those people that you're playing with to demonstrate your emotions completely, you don't have to. You're not broken. Okay.
Yeah.
I have games that I'm like, okay, the one playing here is not the same person playing in Exandria, where I'm playing with my friends. It's not I'm not. It's not like saying I'm not 100% committed, but it's not like that. But it's not the same because I don't know these people the same way I know the people in my other group. So I don't trust them enough to be completely vulnerable and not getting hurt. So I don't. So if you don't feel like, okay, I'm not 100% comfortable being 100% vulnerable here, it's okay. As long as as long as you feel safe enough to play there, you're okay.
Yeah, you're not contractually obligated to feel things. It's okay.
Exactly.
And you're also and the opposite.
I was talking about situations like friends and people you feel safe.
Yes.
Well, okay, no, I should be specific. Yeah, we should be specific though, because there are people that do get paid for this in real life. So unless you have an actual contract saying you have to feel things, you don't have to. It's okay.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I make every single one of my players sign a contract before my session saying they are gonna cry. Yeah. I'm joking.
You make them sign. Yeah, I don't know if it's just me. I do make them sign it in blood for no particular reason.
And if they don't cry, they owe me money. That's how I have so many dice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, technically, there is a game where you have to sign a contract when you're playing.
Yeah.
I'm actually speaking about that because now we kind of sidetracked to a very important topic, which are the safety tools. Because especially in situations of leading, you need to make sure that the party and your players feel safe in your session. And you as a DM as well, you also need to feel safe. You're not you're not obligated to deal with all the bullshit that your players pull. You also need to protect yourself.
Thank you for saying that.
Like the players have the safety tools, but you also as a DM, you need to have them. And especially TTRPGs can explore sometimes very intense themes and emotions, and it depends on the story or even the system itself. Some systems by default will deal with more dark topics, more heavy topics, and everyone needs to protect their well-being while staying engaged in the game. And that's when safety tools come in place, because they are designed to help groups to set boundaries and navigate difficult content and respond when the game becomes uncomfortable for them. And some new games are actually being designed already to include some kind of safety tools. A game where you need to sign a contract, let's just go like Azil, which is a Portuguese game. You need to sign a consent form that you can rip the moment you just become, nope, I don't want to play anymore. And another example that I can give is the Between. The first thing you do before the game starts, you do a Lines and Veils, for example. And speaking of this, what do you believe as game masters is the best safety tool? Or what are your favorite safety tools? Marta was like, oh God, no.
Have fun, game masters. I'm a player.
Yeah, sit back, relax.
Yeah,
I'm just your favorite bard. I'm the flirty one.
the amount of safety tools there is, it's
really hard to pinpoint like one. I think it depends on the group or more on the setting, because if you're doing a campaign, it's different than if you're doing. I do more like one-shot sessions. I haven't been doing campaigns. So responding as in, imagine that you go to a convention. How do you make sure that your players are safe? What I like to do, and also that I am safe, because sometimes they are wild. But what I like to do.
I remember the Lisboa Games Week stories.
Oh my god! Like they threw me for a loop, but I was safe. I was in control. Everything was fine. But I think what I always like to do is establish my table rules, and my table rules are to protect me, but also any other player. Meaning, I immediately say that my word is the last word in terms of what we're doing in the universe, and I always say I'm a benevolent God. Like, I'm not going to cut on your fun, but if I say this is not allowed, or this is making me or another player uncomfortable, you have to stop doing that, then you do have to stop doing that. I also established immediately that I don't allow any disrespect for any communities at my table. Like, you can't just come in and be racist or xenophobic or homophobic, transphobic. That is strictly not allowed. And I'm not going to warn you. You're just going to leave. So those are things I immediately establish, because you don't know who you're playing with at conventions. And for the most part, I've had very good experiences. I can say after like a year of DMing, I haven't really had an issue at a convention where people have been disrespectful, and I'm really grateful for that. But I think that is one thing. And I also like asking immediately, like, is there anything you guys might not want to be explored? But you're at a convention, and as Marta said before, people might not feel comfortable enough at a table where they don't know everyone to say, hey, don't mention this, or hey, don't do this, or to put themselves out there. So it's kind of hard for me because I'm autistic, but I try to be like vigilant on how my players are reacting. And I think for good measure, if you're going to a convention, it's good to stir away from a few topics that you think might not be for everybody. I think just you're playing for like an hour to 3 hours max. You don't need to explore every single topic and like get to world peace. Sometimes you might just need to help a few halflings get back their factory because there's mice inside whatever tool they use. Sometimes it's better to keep it simple, I think. But yeah, I think you have to establish as a game master, these are the topics you will not touch at my table. But I would like to know what you guys use for campaigns. I don't really do campaigns.
Yeah, no. As someone who's been doing almost exclusively campaign work, I mean, for one shots, I'll give you like, yeah, absolutely. You are nailing everything. Like, yeah, like stray away from generally very upsetting topics and you're already doing something right. One thing that I think I've done for one shot specifically is I like to sort of give the players some references of the kind of vibes that we're going to be going into. Usually you mention, media that you assume they might know, movies, video games, books, whatever, and you tell them this is kind of what we're going for. Assume that the topics and or things that are dealt with in those stories are going to be dealt with here, and if anything in there is something that you don't feel comfortable with, mention that. And again, yeah, it's just maintaining that immediate connection. And I think, like you said so well, is the game master kind of does have to create a sense of trust and a sense of safety with the players, especially when it's people that you might not know, right? You kind of have to immediately become this person of being very open and being very accommodating and being sure to mention to the players if there's anything specifically that you really don't want addressed, please let me know, right? Because the last thing you want to do is hit something complicated for someone in the middle of a session where, yeah, again, you're just trying to have fun because it's a one shot and it's like, yeah, let's keep it nice and simple and breezy. unless you're doing some sort of horror story, in which case don't keep it nice and breezy, but also be careful what you're doing. So yeah, but for long campaigns, I mean, talking about not knowing what you don't know when you start, safety tools was definitely a thing. Is like learning about that and how extensive. I mean, the resources have become so much more extensive and so much more widespread and so much more easily available now, that it's like, oh wow, there's so many things that you never even consider at first, because you're playing a game and there's an inherent sense of sort of, again, that safety, that barrier where it's a game and you don't really necessarily think to consider those things. And then you look into it and it's like, oh yeah, here's the list of like potential triggers. Here's the lines and veils system. Here's the X card system where, yeah, it works for like one shots and stuff. If you bring up anything that is even remotely a problem, just, yeah, give those cards to the players. As soon as they lift it, move on. You're going somewhere else now. You're not dealing with that. Yeah, there's so many different systems. Not one of them is superior to the other. It's really a question of understanding your table, understanding your players, figuring out what works, what doesn't. I can tell you for the Fellowship, for instance, like there was no formal process of safety tools. All it really was again just talking to the players very openly during session 0. And when I say session 0, I don't just mean one session 0 that happened before the first episode. I mean the thing that continues to happen constantly. As we finish different sessions, you keep talking and you keep asking and you keep bringing up those questions, because it's kind of it's not that it's your job specifically, but it is very much like it's your table. You have to stay on top of those things. And yeah, I mean, there's already been moments where it's like, hey, we've talked about topics that you might not want to approach, and then a few sessions later, it's like you bring up the conversation again after the session. And then all of a sudden you mention something and it's like, oh yeah, I'm not super into that. And I'm like, okay, good to know. So that's why it's important to just keep checking, keep going back to it if you're on a long-term thing, because then, again, you don't know what you don't know. And the players aren't necessarily aware of what they're going to be facing. You as a game master have a much bigger scope and a much bigger knowledge of what you're dealing with. So be mindful and be present and constantly stay on top of that. Don't be nagging about it, but absolutely be consistent.
And actually, we got a question, which is continue to talking about these safety tools for your players. But as a DM, have you ever had the need to use those safety tools to protect yourself as well?
I mean, me personally, no. But then again, I'm also a little irregular in the sense that basically every table I've been at has been for the long-term campaigns, it's been with people that I know. It's been with friends that I am confident with, that I am trustworthy of. And for the one-shot stuff, it's always been light enough in its topics and in the things we were doing that it was never really a problem. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It might happen. And it can absolutely happen with people that you know and trust. But so far, not really. And again, that's because the GM seat it gives you so much more insight into what's happening at any given moment. You you know what you're going to approach. You know what you're going to introduce into the story. You're the one behind the curtain. And that grants you a lot of safety by that point. So really the only thing that can get you is the player interaction, the player's decisions, the player's choices are the only thing that might get you. But again, if you're keeping that communication open, you're probably talking about those things yourself. And if you're not, you should be doing that because, again, yeah, you're also a player. As a dungeon master, You're part of the table. You're not just a robot behind the DM screen saying things. So yeah, talk about it. Be open about it. Be honest about it. And trust that the same level of care that you are putting into the table is being reciprocated, and that the other players are also being mindful of what you have with you.
I will just add to that. I haven't really had to use tools, just specific tools, but I think that what the players do can get to you, but I think also sometimes it could be the player's backstory. Like they might be touching on a subject that you, the DM, don't feel comfortable touching upon. I'm talking more about campaigns. I've started a campaign in the past where sometimes you can avoid it. Like if it's something in the player's backstory that you don't really have to touch on, you can just be like, okay, that's your backstory. You do you. If it's something that you're uncomfortable exploring, could be sexual violence or slavery, whatever it is that you yourself might not feel comfortable with, but the player expects you to bring up. I think, again, beating a dead horse here, but just have to talk to your player and be like, hey, so I see that you have this on your backstory. If it's really important for this character to be fully that I touch on this, maybe we want to switch up the character you're going to be playing, because I don't want to do like a disservice to the character you're playing, but I'm not the DM for this character, and that's okay. You don't have to be. I think a very cool thing about GMing is that you're not going to be everybody's favorite GM, and it's not like a point system where you're the best or the worst. You might just not be for a person and be the perfect GM for another person. So yeah, I think it's always like communicate, because then if you're gonna tackle a character that you don't feel comfortable with, that's also a disservice for the player who's putting a lot of hours into that character maybe both of you would just prefer a different character be played.
Yeah, I actually forgot to mention, but yeah, it should be mentioned that, like, yeah, you mentioned the heavier topics, things like sexual violence, slavery, that sort of thing, but it should be reinforced that no topic is too small to be a trigger, and you don't need to be afraid of mentioning those things as a player to your GM. Anything can be triggering, and you don't know what people's lives have been until the point where they sit at your table. So don't be afraid of mentioning those things, no matter how small. There's no small triggers and no wrong triggers. There's just, like you mentioned, there might just be a wrong table, and not every table is going to be for you, and not every player or GM is going to be for you. But there's someone out there that can be and is probably very much looking forward to doing so. So just, again, be open, be honest, and don't be afraid of mentioning whatever it is that might be problematic for you, because if it's problematic for you, that's enough. That's more than enough to not address it.
And I was like seeing here in the chat, Joanna was saying things can change and something can come up that you didn't realize. I very much agree with that. I had a trigger come up during a campaign that I had I didn't realize that it would be a trigger for me. That's why I didn't address it. But I was very grateful that I got to just talk to my DM after and say, hey, I didn't realize this. I'm really sorry. But can this not, this is kind of a trigger for me and I didn't realize. And they were really graceful about it and never, they changed the narrative in a way that it wouldn't bother me. So I think it's always important to also do that, either in the middle of session if you really need to, or after the session if you feel like you can do that after. But yeah, I think, no topic is too small.
For me, I had a situation at an event, because, like we said, we get anyone. We don't know who's going to sit at our table. And I had a situation, I was DMing Lord of the Rings. So everyone was a hobbit. And one of the players decided he didn't want to be a nice hobbit. And just to put it simply, he decided he wanted to eat everything. I'm going to just say this. Everything. And I was like, okay. And he kept, and I just said, okay. And moved to his friends. And both were shocked. And he kept insisting on that. And I was like, my defense was like, yeah, you don't exist for me anymore. So I'm going to just focus on your friends, because also the friends were like, don't listen to him. And I was like, yeah, it just doesn't exist right now. It wasn't a trigger for me per se, but it was really, really annoying. So I was like, why, dude, why are you doing this? Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes you need to deal with problem children for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, so like, I think I had, not as a DM, but as a player, Lobo was present on that session. I almost hit a trigger of another player without anyone knowing. We didn't know our triggers. But the moment I saw that warning of his coming up, I instantly changed the way I was narrating the scene, exactly because of that. Because the game we were playing, Asylum, and because it's a very, very powerful game and it's horror. It's not a friendly game for people that have a lot of or small triggers. That's not a friendly game. I'm sorry. So
Just it is what it is.
Yeah, not all games are for everyone. Also. So in those games, I do tend to go a little harder on descriptions, on scenes, but I also am really attentive to everyone else, because triggers we did not say were triggers can become triggers suddenly, and actually happen to be one of those. And the moment I saw the warning, I was like, nope, let's just change the narrative, because we're not here to trigger players. So.
And I can speak for myself, because, again, I was in the same table as you at that moment. Speaking about Asylum, like I said before, when I was introducing this topic, Asylum has that safety tool included, of like you rip apart your consent form in order to save yourself from a situation that you don't feel comfortable. And I remember you were mentioning that. And the topic that you were talking about is not exactly a trigger for me, but at the moment I looked at the safety tool because I was getting uncomfortable. I was like, maybe it will come in handy.
Yeah.
But it also relieved me the fact that I could look at the paper and be like, if this goes beyond what I can handle, I will just rip it apart. And I also remember that after that session in particular, we were talking because the game was still in development, and we were like, hey, the Game Master also needs one. Because we can jump ship if the situation gets uncomfortable. But the GM can't. And your mental health is as important as ours.
Yeah, and especially in Asylum, the GM is the most, like in other games. The GM has the narrative, he controls the story, but then everything else
is the players.
It's on the players. So the GM can also be triggered by the players. So the GM has to have a way out. And in Asylum, we talked about it and said, yeah, dude, find get a way out for the GM as well, because the GM can also be triggered. For example, another horror game that I love is Dread. Basically, you play you don't use dice, you use a Jenga tower, and you pull blocks from the Jenga tower. It's awesome.
It's the second time I'm hearing about this game, and I'm so excited. Continue, please.
Honestly,
one day I'm trying to GM that game for years.
Call us.
Next event, let's do it, Marta. I'm waiting. I really want to do it. Okay, sorry, continue.
Sure. But the thing is, it's a horror game. And I was trying to find a good story already published for ease of things, because I was gonna do a live play on Roll Lisboa that year, and I was like, okay, working on Roll Lisboa and GMing as well. Let's just find something that's already published. I found one that I love that story. But as I was reading the story, I was like, okay, this one, I love it. At the end, the climax of the scene, the whole campaign, the whole one shot, I was like, I can't do this. Me as a GM, I can't do this. I was supposed to bully everyone. Every character. Bully. It says that in there. You have to bully, but in a way that you're going to go for every little minuscule thing from the character. And I was like, the way I was thinking on doing that, in the GM walking around the players, getting close to them, I was like, I'm gonna trigger someone. I'm even if I don't want to, I'm sure I'm going to trigger someone, and I'm going to trigger myself. I don't want to bully no one. So I was like, yeah, no. This one, I'm not going to. Unfortunately, it's a really good story. I was like, nope, to the side. Because, yeah, fortunately, other than these specific things, I haven't had any problem either with one-shots or campaigns, because especially in campaigns you have to establish your intentions with the campaign, and if everyone is on the same page, okay, that's the start. Then go with triggers. For me, it's my go-to. Everyone the same page with the campaign, and then triggers, and then we go. Usually we don't in the campaign about Windmouth, I just, in case, I had the X card safety tools on the game table. We never used it, but it's like, it's better to have it and not use it than you need it and not have it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there are so many safety tools out there, not just these ones that we talked about. If one isn't the right one for you, keep looking, because certainly there will be one. And again, you might never use it in your campaigns, in your games, either be campaigns, one shots, but it's better that you have there than you need it and don't have it.
Again, like I mentioned to you before when you were talking about that situation in Asylum, just looking at that paper and knowing it's there, I have a way out, it's enough to just relax you a little bit. And I can also tell really quickly for the last mini campaign that I DM'd here at the Guild, I made my players write in cards all their triggers, and I did it anonymously, so no one knew who was whose trigger belonged to who. Also, for a sense of some people get ashamed of those triggers, and if a situation happens during a game, they don't want to expose themselves to that and say, "Oh, that's my trigger. Don't talk about it." And putting those cards at the table, all anonymously, anyone could look at it and anyone could say, "Hey, someone said this was a trigger. Don't talk about it." Because sometimes being anonymous about these things, it's also a safety tool for yourself, because the DM can know that it was you specifically that you said, but you don't want the other players to know. And also, I think also that can be important, because the game master needs to be the person that you can trust with this information. You don't need necessarily to tell everyone at the table, "Hey, this is a trigger for me," because for some reason you just don't feel comfortable saying that to the other players at the table, or you don't know them so well. Also, these things of like, this is something that I don't like. It's here. It's in the mix of all the other things that people listed and said, we don't want this to be talked about. And anyone can come to the rescue to be like, "Hey, this is mentioned here. Let's not go over it. Let's not talk about it." And that was a tool that I really enjoyed having. We didn't need it, thankfully, but it was there for everyone.
And I think going with what you're saying, as a player, if you know you're going to talk about, even if it's not an established trigger, if you know you're going to talk about a more sensitive topic, like society deems it as sensitive, look at the other players as you're talking about it, because you need to know when you're reaching the limit of certain players, because they might not say it, but if you watch them and you see, okay, that person is getting triggered, okay, let's maybe, okay, and this happened, and move along. Do not continue. I think that's the most important thing. Also, it's also be very attentive in those times, very attentive to everyone at the table,
being mindful of everyone and paying attention to everyone. Sometimes it's, you don't need to speak to say that you're not comfortable, and you as a DM, sometimes you get to see everyone. You have a more broad view of everyone, and you're more exposed to that. I don't know if anyone else wants to add to this topic of conversation.
I'm a good player.
Can confirm, yeah.
Can confirm. Also can confirm.
I'll just add that maybe because sometimes I've gotten pretty perceptive with experience, but sometimes it is a little bit difficult for me specifically and people with autism to fully understand what others might be feeling. Just normalize texting your DM in the middle of the session and saying, "Hey, dude, what the hell? Please stop." And moving on with it. A lot of people DM on their PCs. If you can talk to your DM and be like, "Hey, can you have your WhatsApp opened or your Discord open so I can text you if I'm not feeling okay?" Yeah, I think that is also a great tool.
Definitely.
that as well. Yeah,
that as well. Yes, we have phones, we have Discord, we have PCs, we have
consider consider the environment you're playing in.
Like, you can just grab a paper and write a note to your GM, throw it at his head, and be like, "Check what's written." Just, you find ways to communicate mid-game without saying directly, "Hey, dude, stop." We have technology, like Mitchell said in chat. And speaking of technology, because like Kenny said, when she was introducing herself, there are some COVID babies here, and people that started playing D&D during the pandemic because we were all stuck at home. We had nothing better to do, and someone brought up that D&D exists, and we're like, let's try it. And fast forward to almost 6 years, and here we are, still playing, still rolling dice and playing pretend. Yes, it's been 6 years. But time flies. Anyway.
Oh my god. Yeah, right.
And because of that, many people's first experience with TTRPGs was online, and that's how they still have most of their experience, either through VTTs, either through watching actual play streams, or social media communities. And these places can help out with creativity, giving like a sense of belonging, and sometimes even give you inspiration for your next character. You start to see people talking about their characters and all, and you stumble upon a concept that you're like, I think I can pull this off. But it also can introduce things like blurred social boundaries, sometimes some parasocial relationships, power imbalanced, all those kinds of things. The online TTRPG communities can shape sometimes your connection with the people and the characters. It can shape your identity, and sometimes it can even shape your mental health, both positively or negatively. In your perspective, because let's face it, we all got to know each other because of TTRPGs, and now we speak more online. There are Discord servers for it. There are forums online where people can go and talk about their characters. People can share their stories on subreddits to connect with other people. Like, hey, I did this with my players. You guys think it's okay? Stuff like that. How do you think these online communities can affect social connections? And how do you think it can be beneficial for a person's mental health?
I mean, for one, you have a lot more resources into, like, if you want to start playing and you don't really know how to do it and it feels daunting, Reddit is right there for you. You can just, but also just in the Portuguese community, I think more and more servers have been popping up where you can maybe meet people in your area where you guys can play either online or in person, which is the superior version. But even just role-playing communities can be really cathartic for a lot of people. So I think for the most part, like with any community, you're going to find people who are a little bit vicious and mean. But I think if we're talking the Portuguese community, I think it's very easy to avoid those environments and find environments that are fulfilling and where people don't gatekeep and actually teach you how to do it and make you feel welcomed. So my opinion is that I think the online community, at least in Portugal, is pretty cool and is like an added plus to the overall TTRPG community.
I'm gonna add this not as something that I do, but there's a few videos about this, especially, again, with like when you study this kind of stuff, you do come across this kind of stuff as well. Actually, if you really want to play and you want to have like a good campaign and all of that, it is an option that you actually pay to play. There are DMs, like people who actually get paid to DM campaigns for people. And there's really a lot of good reviews about that. I do suggest taking a look at Jeannie D. I think a lot of people know her. On YouTube, she has a video about this. And it is an option. If you have difficulty finding a good group, a good DM, especially with the DMs, it's very complicated sometimes. Not for me, kidding. But sometimes it is really difficult to find the right DM or group. Consider actually paying for a game. It is the same as you paying for, a subscription on Final Fantasy 15.
That was oddly specific.
Once again, no part of the person has been injected into the argument at any point. No, yeah, I mean, you want to talk about the sort of the online side of it. If you want to talk about the community and all that, then yeah, I mean, first of all, if you're looking and like joining different servers or places online that deal with the TTRPG community, first of all, you are going to be, and this is not hyperbole, bombarded with an absolute deluge of just artistic expression. It is massive in the TTRPG community for very good reason. I mean, it's a fantastic creative outlet in so many different ways. So in a certain way, the online presence around TTRPGs can very much serve as like a never-ending brainstorming space where you can really explore and come up with so many different things and sort of bounce ideas off of people that might be dealing with something similar, that might be sort of coming up with things or that have dealt with different story beats, character ideas, whatever you're looking for. And it's such a great resource in that sense. There's always someone that has either already done something that you've considered or that is currently considering doing that, and that can absolutely guide you in the right direction. And yeah, that means that that's not specific to the Portuguese TTRPG communities, just in general. But for the TTRPG community, yeah, I think there is something to be said about the fact that, if you spend a lot of time online, TTRPGs are a much bigger thing now than they've ever been, really. But then if you go into the real world, in Portugal, it's still very much a niche hobby. The community is not that large. So when you get in touch with that, when you come into contact with it, the possibility of finding people that are like-minded, that are of similar sort of values, similar ideas, open and welcoming is, I think, it's much greater because, again, like, it's still small enough or it's still unknown enough that the people in that space are, by and large, people that are also looking for a place to belong. And so going into that community, there's going to be a much higher chance that you're going to find people that are going to be open to welcoming new people and to sort of guide you along the way and at least give you some pointers. Great examples of that, yeah, it's like the monthly meetings, monthly RPG player meetings, events that people put on constantly of like, hey, we're going to do we're going to do some one shots for newbies and anybody can sign up. And you have like a day of sessions that you can play in. And, all of those things come up sort of, not necessarily on a consistent basis, but they're going to pop up and you're going to find them the more you keep exploring in that space. And yeah, obviously there's always going to be that point or those moments where you're going to find the less the less positive side to those things. Yes, there can be a risk of certain people being more gatekeep-y about that. They can kind of take a sense of ownership over the hobby that is not, it's not necessarily an unfounded thing, but it is very limiting and very closed off. And it kind of goes a little bit against everything I sort of see TTRPGs being, because TTRPG is such an inherently social hobby that closing it seems counterproductive in a lot of ways. So, I think by and large, like it was mentioned, I think it's positive. Here in Portugal, we've got enough places, enough people, and enough goodwill, enough attempts at just opening up the hobby, making it accessible, and making it a welcoming space for new people coming in. Yeah.
And even for TTRPG groups, I think not that
Sure.
the internet was invented 2 years ago or something, but I think for us, it's really cool to have that tool. We have a West March campaign in Coimbra with Bardos, and the way we get most players to come isn't really by word of mouth, is people finding out about us through Instagram, or they get added to our Discord server, and suddenly they're like, oh, wait, I can just go every Thursday, can just go here and meet new people. And then they become their own tinier community of people that they play consistently, multiple times a month together. And the only reason the campaign got so big is because we are able to use online tools to direct people to, as Meek was saying, those kinds of events. I think it's like any other tool. We just have to use them correctly, And for the most part, I think even it's a small community, but I think the people who are in the community, or the people I've experienced so far, are making it so that I believe that the community, as much as it grows, will continue to be a space where people are more interested in getting to know one another and helping each other get into TTRPGs that they are protecting, whatever sacred uniqueness they might think the hobby has. So I'm very excited to see where the community grows, or how the community grows, because the people who are building it are very cool people who, from my experience, have the same values into what's actually important here.
And now to close to wrap up, because let's face it, this has been a really nice conversation, and we have been here for 2 hours. 2 hours have passed already.
What?
It didn't feel like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So to wrap it up also a little bit, we see TTRPGs continue to grow, and they have been growing a lot. I think this was a conversation that I had recently at Lisboa Games Week, which is, all of a sudden, it feels like the TTRPG scene, especially here in Portugal, just exploded.
That's great.
The amount of new players that came in, and it's amazing to see how much it's growing and evolving. Not just people starting playing D&D, but people getting interested in so many different systems and all of that. And as it continues to grow, it also interacts with these topics of mental health, education, online culture, important ethical questions arise. Things like what are the boundaries between the play and something that is borderline therapy? Because you're playing a game, you're not in therapy unless you're actually being told by a therapist to go play D&D or any other TTRPG. What responsibilities do the game masters, creators, and communities hold? how do we navigate and consent? How do we navigate consent, our authority, care in informal spaces? All this introduction to give you guys this question: should TTRPG publishers include mental health disclaimers or guidance in their games more often, knowing that some more recent games already publish their games with things such as trigger warnings or safety tools? And where should be the ethical line between meaningful emotional exploration and unintentional harm lies, in your opinion?
Okay, so fun fact about Dungeons and Dragons.
Of course.
If you read a little bit about who did Dungeons and Dragons,
Oh, yeah.
they're not amazing, are they? And let's be honest, half of the stories in Dungeons and Dragons is about racism and prejudice. There should be warnings, I do think, on the books that are relating to stories, because we're always killing a horde of goblins or whatever it is, just because they are lower, or a bunch of orcs. So definitely there should be more triggers when it comes to books and what they have available for us. I can also say about this, there was someone on the chat, Sanguini was talking about this. Marta also plays VTM, and also as me, as someone who does really enjoy VTM and play, and hopefully I am GMing soon. It is a game, and if whoever has the book, especially the most recent version, that is V5, it does talk about a lot about trigger warnings available in the, like, what is in the game that could be a trigger for people. And I do believe maybe finding tools, not so much from the publishers themselves, but I would say definitely in the table, because I think everyone has a different way of wanting to express themselves in, hey, I'm not very happy with this, I'm not very safe with this, and what can we do?
Yeah, I'm with Danny. In my opinion, yes, all the books should come with trigger warnings. The trigger warnings, content warnings that they have. And players see the content warnings. Okay, do I want to buy it? Do I not want to buy it? Each one decides. Safety tools, yeah, they can mention safety tools. Like, okay, this game would work better with this safety tool. Probably. But, like I said before, and Annie also said just now, each table should have their own safety tool, own set of safety tools if they prefer. And since there are so many, you can't just say, okay, this safety tool works with everything. Yeah, might. But it might not work with your table. So
nothing is 100%.
Yeah. Content warning, 100%. Yes. All games should come with a content warning. Safety tools. They can suggest. They can give suggestions. Sure. It's a plus.
Yeah.
Reddit is your best friend.
Yes. Yeah, I think the more widespread something becomes, the more mainstream something becomes, the more accommodating you have to be as a person creating something in that space to that increased audience. So yeah, like you mentioned, like mostly new games, new systems, new narratives are the ones now introducing those things by design. It makes sense that that's happening now because, yeah, TTRPGs as a hobby has grown. There's a much wider audience, much wider spectrum of potential players, potential people interacting with your creation. So yeah, you should be accommodating to that. You should absolutely, like it's already been mentioned, yeah, you should have those content warnings in the books. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? It's one thing that it's just one more thing you can add that costs you nothing and is going to be valuable to the people that might approach this thing that you've made. And it's going to help those people feel more at ease with what it is you're presenting to them. Safety tools, I wouldn't say is necessarily a responsibility of a publisher or a developer of a game by itself. Again, each table is its own table. There is no way you either fill up half the book with every single potential safety tool that exists so far, or you're just going to be like, hey, here are some suggestions that you can look up on your own time in your own way with this wonderful resource of the internet, and figure out what it is that you want. Also, here's some potential avenues you can follow to find out more, right? If you do that, that's enough. That's like the bare minimum that you need to do. You're putting in your due diligence, you're being aware of those things. That's enough. You don't need to go any farther than that to show that that you are thinking of these things. You're keeping those things in mind. You are keeping also in mind that these might be people that are coming into the hobby for the very first time and they don't know about these things and they need to know about all of that. And again, it's such a low effort thing. It's going to take you nothing. It's going to cost you nothing to just put it up there and hey, it's here, done, right? So it's such low effort for such a great reward at the end of the day. So why not do it, right?
Before we wrap up, I don't know if there is also anything else that you'd like to say about this topic overall, just something to wrap up this conversation. Maybe some conclusion, realization that we had with this conversation.
Well, I do want to say this community is so warm, and if you've never played TTRPGs and you're looking to play, I do definitely say give it a try. Or, if you are from Portugal and you see any of the faces of Kat and Marta in a table, in a con, you should go and play with them.
Absolutely.
Give them a try and give it a try to the game because
we will sometimes bite. You need to be careful.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a consent form at the entrance, so it's okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you do hereby consent to being bitten. Yeah, that's fine.
And you were saying mostly as a player, but what would you say to a DM or someone that wants to try and DM?
Just do it.
Honestly, yeah. Like, if it seems daunting, it isn't. It really isn't.
Nobody knows what you have planned.
Yeah, it looks like a lot. It doesn't have to be. Don't be worried about it. As long as you're doing it, keep in mind, the only thing you have to worry about are the people around it. That is your first and most important concern. Anything else beyond that is cherry on top. So just make sure you're trying to create something for people to enjoy, for people to have fun with, and to draw good memories from. And honestly, that's plenty. That's all you need to do. You don't actually need to. Yeah, fun fact, you don't need to read anything. It's okay. You don't have to do homework. It can be just as easy as just starting. It's okay.
Listen, I know I made the joke about being the only one that was just a player. I did DM once in one shot and I over-prepared, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why? Yeah, it happens, but you learn.
And don't worry if your first time DMing sucks. Don't worry.
It's gonna suck. The first time you DM is gonna suck.
But like, if the players are first-time players, they're probably not gonna know any better. So just do it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Nobody has any expectations. They don't know what to expect. So if it's crappy, you can just say it wasn't a bug, it was a feature.
Exactly.
And even if they aren't, just tell them, guys, my first time DMing, so probably gonna suck. Let's try not. But So if it does, don't judge yourself too hard.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Also,
Because
we're making
it's-
jokes about the first session's gonna suck, but also, guys, a little self-talk is nice, especially as a game master. Like, believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing. Say it to yourself, even if you don't believe it. Just say it enough times, and it's gonna sink in eventually.
Like I said, my first time sucked so hard. I only DM'd again like twice so I tried in 2018. First time, no. Last time, so I tried again twice in 2019, just twice. And I was like, maybe. Then only in 2020 did I actually start DMing consistently. So don't worry.
If at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yes.
Exposure
And
therapy.
it's a skill, right?
Yeah, and exposure
you
therapy.
have to do it.
With DMing it is. With DMing it, the
You
more you
learn by doing.
DM, the more you're gonna be better. And talk with other
You can
DMs.
watch as many videos as you want. Okay, I don't care how many times you've heard Matt Mercer talk about how to GM. You're not going to learn until you do it.
Yeah,
Just do it.
do
Also,
it.
don't be a Matthew Mercer.
Yeah, don't neither.
Oh yeah, don't compare yourself to anybody.
Not
That's fine.
yeah.
Not
you can
anybody.
talk with other DMs, not just watching videos. Actually, talk with other GMs from your community. They're the ones who have the more localized experience, because you can't compare the American community with the Portuguese community. It's
Not at all.
completely yeah. So talk with other GMs from Portuguese community, or your community if you're not Portuguese, and GM and GM and GM again. Maybe it's the game. Change the game. Look for another
there's
system.
So many games
Maybe
out there.
there's it's the system. Change the system. Find the system you like playing. You like the genre, the topic, and then go for it.
Try different systems. LARP, if you want.
Yeah, LARP if
yes.
you want. Yeah, go nuts. Yeah, do whatever. Yeah. I mean, maybe I would say the only guardrail I say that maybe you should put on is like, don't go super hardcore the first time and try to like GM for the first time at a convention to complete strangers, because that might be a little much.
Yeah, no, please don't.
Yeah, don't do what I did.
Yeah, no. Yeah, because I mean, you can attest to that. That probably didn't feel good at the time.
No, it was fine. Like one of my first players is a guy who's been playing since the 80s, which wasn't like stressful at all to me. And he was very kind.
Yeah.
A lot of other players were not. They were first-time players. He was the only more experienced one, so he was very like kind to me and tried to help me out. I definitely used to plan more, and I think that helps when you're just starting out. I am team don't plan, but I am team plan if you're starting out, because it does help you. And like there's no better DM. Like you are somebody's favorite type of GM. You just have to get to them. I think one thing, if I could tell anybody that's starting out, is don't compare yourself in the sense also that you're here, or everybody's here to learn from each other. There's things I take from other DMs that I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. I really want to incorporate that into my game. That if I had the attitude of like, how can I be better than them? I don't think I would have the humility to be like, oh, I want to incorporate that skill. So approach it with humility, approach it with the casualness that a game deserves, so that you can have fun with it and get to know the people. There's a lot of cool people around. So yeah.
Absolutely.
And so with this, I want to say thank you all so much for joining us tonight on this talk. First and foremost, I want to thank my wonderful guests for their presence here tonight. I hope all of you had a good time. It was a huge pleasure to have you here at the Guild's channel and to speak about this. We approached a lot of different topics, and I know if we had 1 extra hour to talk, we probably would talk about I don't know how many different other things, most likely, definitely. And if you that are watching, for our viewers, if you missed this talk or you wish to rewatch it, worry not. We will post it on our YouTube channel, and it will also be available on Spotify in podcast. So you can listen to it anywhere you go, anytime you want. For our viewers, also, don't miss out the return of Curse of Strahd Reloaded tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. GMT. Sadly, Gavir and I won't be able to make it. So, sad econ noises. I won't be able to play. I miss playing. But join the company of the rest of the party in this brand new episode and to more adventures in the lands of Barovia. And also, I don't know if you saw in chat a little timer thing going on, but join us on Friday for the second event of the new Gamemaster Month because we're going to have a game. This game is called Roll for Confession. The Mass is about to begin, and we will read some of the confessions Game Masters usually hide behind the GM screen. This event will be hosted by ours truly, Lord Keeper Jo, and with her, we will have the following guests. Michel Ventura from Dados à Portuguesa, Hidari, the creator of the podcast Dados and Dragões, and Tessa, a book and TTRPG content creator. They will read and judge your confessions, determine if you are guilty of sin or innocent and deserve forgiveness. All of us have our secrets as game masters. All of us have fudged the dice here and there. All of us has to improvise on the spot. Some people have made not TTRPGs, TPKs on accident. It happens. And those are the confessions that we will be watching and reading. You can find the link in our Twitch chat, like I said, for the form where you can submit your confessions. And don't forget also to end this week's schedule. Saturday, join us for a new cartographer stream. If you are curious about map making, blah, blah, blah. What the hell? If you're curious about map making, stop by and keep us in company. So once again, to our guests, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone that was watching, and see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Uh,
Bye.